What up, what up, world? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're receiving this audio. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Busted Coverage Podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Persampieri, joined always by my partners in crime, Cam Griffin and Matt Baywood. Before we get started, as always, we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are on YouTube as well as Spotify. So make sure you guys hit the like button, leave comments, set up notifications so you know when we're dropping videos, and leave comments again. Like I said, can't reiterate that point more. We would love to hear from you guys, get feedback. Let us know what you want us to talk about, man. We want to hear from the people. We are men of the people. With that said, I'm going to pass it over to Matt Baywood, who is our moderator today. He's going to go over the topics that we're going to be discussing, and we're just going to get right to it. So, Matt, go ahead, baby. What you got?
So, thanks, Nick. We are going to be recapping on the WNBA Draft. We are going to talk about a few subtopics in there about Hailey Van Lith, Paige to Dallas, how the draft class will impact WNBA viewership. Then we'll move on to our recap of the NBA play-in games and our predictions for the final setup of the bracket, even though there is still one more round of the play-in games to be had. And then in the NFL, we have a couple of interesting questions that we'd like you to listen to later on in the show. And we're going to be doing our first NHL full segment. We touched on the Alex Ovechkin record-breaking, the scoring record being broken a few weeks ago, and we'd like to just touch on NHL with the playoffs coming up. So, with that being said, the NBA draft was this past Monday in New York City. Paige Bueckers was selected number 1 overall to Dallas.
Surprise.
So, just for, I guess, some color, the WNBA does have a lottery, even though they don't have as many teams as the NBA, but it's only 4 teams are in the lottery. Nick, I'll start with you. Did Dallas win the lottery?
I believe they did, right? Isn't that how that works? Let me take a look here. Yeah, I would think they won the lot, even though they didn't have the best odds to win it. Didn't they win the lottery?
They were
Technically,
first overall, technically, but we've
yeah.
seen
So
in the
I would,
past how
I would
that
assume.
we've seen in the past how the
See, this is
first
the thing.
overall pick doesn't work out.
They would ask me a trick question, guys. That this is what happens. He knows I'm not the quickest whip here. But yeah, so the 4 teams that were in the lottery were Dallas, Chicago. That's Angel Reese's team, in case
Hmm.
you guys were wondering. The Washington Mystics, and the LA Sparks. What's crazy is the Sparks had a 44% chance to get the first pick and didn't get the first pick. Dallas did, at 22%. So I was kind of hoping LA would get it because then we'd get Paige and Cameron Brink teaming up. I thought that would have been crazy, but Dallas lucked out. They got the best player on the board. Simple as that. Paige buckets is now, and you know what? If the Dallas Wings are smart, do not consult Nico Harrison for roster advice. Whatever y'all do, do not ask that man for anything that has to do with Paige Bueckers. I'm really excited to see Paige play. As you guys know, we're in CT. Her return to CT is May 27th. I already marked it on the calendar. We're going to the game. Hopefully, maybe I'm going to the game. So
I'll go.
going to be really excited to see her come back to CT for the first time as a pro. And yeah, I hope she does well, man. I really do. Maybe not that day. I hope she doesn't drop like 50 on us, but hey, I'll still be cheering for her though. Ain't gonna lie. So,
All right.
yeah, that's kind of my take on Paige being the first pick. She deserved to be the first pick. She should have been the player of the year. But yeah, I'm just green light. Paige is going to do great things in the WNBA.
Cam, I know you've been tooting Paige's horn all WNBA season.
Oh yeah.
So
Very happy.
let's get your take on it.
Yeah, no. Very excited. Paige Bueckers finally next level. We'll be able to see her play against some of the greats while they're still in the game. And I do think the Wings did good during the draft. Obviously, at the first pick, not going to be. I don't want to say it was no brainer, but kind of a no brainer to take Paige at number one. But I don't know if they won the lottery or the first round draft. I'm going to be honest about that. I feel the Washington Mystics may have won, getting the third and fourth pick in the draft. So to me, I think they may have killed it. I do like. Obviously, we knew Paige was going to go number one. There was no question about that. But I think the bigger questions were who was going to go 2, 3, and 4. When the Olivia Miles decided not to come out of college, she was the number 2 pick. So she stayed. Those were going to be the questions we were now getting. But we watched Kiki. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her last name. I'm not going to butcher it and disrespect her like that. But we watched Kiki at USC play and have a phenomenal season, the Stanford transfer, going along with Juju Watkins, kind of a Batman and Robin kind of thing. And then Sanaya Cintron, I believe it is, out of Notre Dame. Phenomenal guard. Played with Olivia Miles. I was surprised she went number 3, but that's actually a good pick for her to go out to Dallas. But so I think that combo at Dallas, out in Washington, I think that combo right there may have won them the draft. Obviously, if you can't get the first pick, you want to get 2 really good players or a really good player, and they got 2. I don't think that outdoes what Dallas did, but I think for their organization to pair with some of the young players they have, that's great. You just brought in 2 winners, and winners are great at every level. Doesn't matter. So keep an eye out for the Washington Mystics, former UConn player Aaliyah Edwards, who played with Paige Bueckers, by the way. So yeah, I think they won. I think obviously Dallas has a lot to be proud of, but I think Washington may have won the draft, and they had a few more picks in there that did well too. I mean, Georgia Moore, if you don't know the name, learn it. From Kentucky, she's going to be a great pro. So that's where I'm going with this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, this is a good draft class for the WNBA, and I guess that'll sort of segue into the next topic of Hailey Van Lith, another big name in this draft. Stayed an extra year at college, transferred from LSU to TCU. It looked like that trade initially, or not the trade, but the transfer. Um, we were sort of scratching our heads a little bit last year of why she didn't want to enter the draft, because she was obviously ready to go to the NBA, or the WNBA, but she maybe didn't feel like she was ready to go to that next level, or she wanted to increase her draft stock. So with the 11th overall pick, the Chicago Sky reunite Angel Reese and Hailey Van Lith. How do we think the extra year in college helped her climb in the draft? Because her last year at LSU wasn't super impressive. And what do we think about the Angel Reese and Hailey reunion? Cam, I'll start with you because you're the biggest LSU fan I know.
Not for women's basketball, but yes, I do cheer for their women's basketball team, though. I do like Kim Mulkey. Now, I think the Hailey Van Lith, it's actually the journey that she's had from Louisville to LSU to TCU. To be honest, I thought when she left Louisville, that was a bad decision, because I thought everyone knew who she was in the country. I think at that point she was on par to be a top 5 pick whenever her class decided to go, whenever she decided to go. The fun fact is, if you go back when she was at Louisville, nobody was talking about. See, I can't even think of the girl's name right now. Nobody was talking about Caitlin Clark. We were talking about Hailey Van Lith and Paige Bueckers because those were the two dynamic guards coming out of high school. Not that Caitlin Clark wasn't her, but she wasn't on the national spotlight like that. Then they went on their crazy run, and Caitlin Clark went on her crazy scoring spree, and Hailey kind of fell out of the spotlight. Paige Bueckers got hurt, and it was all Caitlin Clark's show. But we never forgot about Paige. It was always, well, if Paige was healthy, Caitlin Clark wouldn't be who she is. Hailey Van Lith then transfers. She wants to play point guard. She transfers to LSU to learn to play point guard. It never really panned out at LSU. As good as she was, we didn't talk about her as much as we talked about Angel Reese, Anissa Morrow, Michaela Williams, I think it is, the freshman when Hailey was there. At best, she was the fourth best player on her team, scoring-wise. Talent-wise, not so much. She was a lot higher, but we didn't see it. So I think the transfer to TCU reminded everybody who Hailey Van Lith was. Looking at the draft order, I'm shocked she went 11th because some of the names on this list, I would have definitely drafted her ahead of some of them. But, I mean, if we're just going on the 1 year at TCU and the struggles maybe at LSU, then I can see why she went where she did. Still going in the first round, not surprised. She's a first-round talent. Anything less than that would have been very disrespectful. But I think her reuniting with Angel Reese, when you have please someone say it for familiarity.
Oh, familiarity.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it for some strange reason. But when you have that, when she has it, don't laugh at me. When she has an Angel Reese out in Chicago, I think she'll do fine in the W. I really do. I think she'll have to get a lot stronger. Her defense will have to get a little better. But that's every rookie's challenge. So, do I think that they'll be playoff bound because they got Hailey Van Lith? No. Do I think that they may be? She may not be the reason. Angel Reese making layups will be the reason. But I do think that the attention that Chicago is going to get now will be a lot greater because Hailey Van Lith will be playing them. So those are my thoughts.
Nick, same questions to you. Do you think that extra year helped her in college, and how do you feel about the Angel Reese and Hailey reuniting in Chicago?
Well, first, I just want to preface that slander against Bayou Barbie is not tolerated on this podcast, even if her range is mid or below mid. Not mid-range. Range is mid. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, back on topic. I agree a lot with what Cam said. The transfer from Louisville at the time was a little questionable. I know it seems like when I watch her play, she plays more like a two guard. And the thing is, she's only 5'9". So now, I mean, it's the WNBA. They're not going to be 7'6" or like the average NBA guard's what, 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
So obviously the W is going to be a little different. I mean, pretty much. I mean, Giannis is playing point guard, but
yeah.
Anyway, even in the W, she's still a little undersized. So I can understand why she wants to maybe run the point, add that facilitating aspect to her game. But when she got to LSU, like Cam said, she was really like the fourth option. And I just don't think how she plays, she couldn't really find a fit in the offense. And her stats kind of suffered. And it, like, I'll be the first person to say it. I've said it. She couldn't shoot. Every time she was on the 3-point line, move back 10 feet. She couldn't shoot. I don't know if it was a mental thing, so something I think happened with the experiment in LSU. So she had to transfer again. And it worked. She put the work in. Clearly, she put the work in. I don't want to say she's got a full bag, but her offensive game is nearly complete. She can score from distance. She can get to the cup. She's a great athlete. And her falling to 11, I think, is a steal for Chicago. I was hoping that LA would have taken her at 9 because I think if Van Lith had someone like Cameron Brink who could actually score the basketball as a big, I think that would have been really dynamic for them. But, again, shout out to Hailey. She did her thing at TCU. When she transferred to TCU, a lot of people were like, why is she going to TCU? But TCU, I believe, went to the Elite Eight this year. So she proved her point. She put the work in, and she deserved to be a first-round pick. Future's bright for Van Lith as well. I don't know if it's as bright as Paige's, but as Cam said, don't forget who Hailey Van Lith is, So that's my take on that. So, yeah, I think it was worth it. It was necessary and worth it. So
this is sort of a question that I didn't think of until just now. But with the Hailey and Angel Reese reuniting, does that spark the feud between Caitlin Clark and those two again? Or is Paige Bueckers now in this conversation, Cam?
Well, I don't think the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese feud. Well, hopefully it's a feud. I would like it to be. I think we would all like to see some drama there. Everybody wants a villain. I know Angel Reese is kind of running from that a little bit, but I think she should embrace it. Diana embraced being the villain. And I think that's something that if that's how your stars are aligning, embrace it. Be that villain to Caitlin Clark. Let her be the good girl. Because you know what? At the end of the day, as many people like Caitlin Clark, they will love you for being the villain. And I think Hailey Van Lith there will kind of ignite that old rivalry a little bit. Like, hey, remember when we knocked you out? But I don't know if it will be with Paige because there's never really been an Angel Paige or a Hailey Van Lith Paige. We just wanted to see them play together. I know media will try and push out a Caitlin Clark versus Paige, but at the end of the day, they're all different players. They don't really guard each other. You're not going to ask Caitlin Clark to guard Paige Bueckers. You're not going to ask Paige to guard Caitlin. You will ask Hailey to guard Caitlin and Paige, but she's a little smaller in general, so we're not really expecting it to be anything on that level. So I'm not sure that's where the rivalry will come from, but I would say that I think the rivalry will stay where it is, where Angel Reese gets upset because people don't talk about her and they talk about Caitlin. And it'll be more of the, I won't say jealousy, but more of the realize it's more than just two people in the league, So I think that's more of the rivalry we'll hear about than anything on the court.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like Cam said, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark play two different positions. One's a forward, one's a guard. They have two different play styles. Obviously, we like to hear them chirp against each other. It was fun. It created a buzz. With Hailey being there, do I think it eggs Angel Reese on a little bit, knowing that she's got some backup? Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. I know Van Lith likes to talk her junk too, so we'll see what happens. But I agree. I think it's going to be more Hailey versus Caitlin, like on the court. We'll see what happens. Hailey's been in the WNBA for what, 2 days?
Yeah.
So she still has stripes to earn. So does Paige. And I hope something does happen. I mean, like Cam said, someone needs to be the villain. And I know we're maybe segueing this a little later, but the WNBA needs like narratives. They need things to go off of, right? They need rivalries. They need star players on more teams, something like that, to really push the game forward. Could this be it? Maybe. I don't know. Time will tell. But I mean, I'd like to see Caitlin and Bayou Barbie go at it again. I think that'd be great. It's views. It's ratings. Make it happen. And if Hailey has to be the instigator, hey, by all means.
So Nick, while you're sort of ranting, I know you didn't want to segue too early, but we'll just segue now since it's leading that direction anyway. How do you feel the viewership is going to be this season now that, we got some bigger names in the draft?
Yep. So I will go on record and say that I am bullish on the WNBA for the next 2 seasons. I think with players like Van Lith, like Paige, also the girl that went second, Dominique Malonga, that girl's going to be a beast too. So you have quality players that are efficient, and Juju's coming next year too, with Azzy Fudd and Flo J. I mean, it's just going to get better and better and better. There's better and better players and quality coming in, and I think it's going to be more widespread in the league. They're in this expansion. They're getting more quality players on a greater number of teams. It's going to push the league forward. I think you're going to see more points. You're going to see better games, more efficient play. Because I'll ask Cam, when was the last time Paige Bueckers threw up an air ball?
I saw
You know what I'm
that.
saying? I'm sorry. This is no slight to the WNBA, but man, sometimes it's hard to watch. Sometimes, man, it really is. Paige is not that kind of player, and neither is Hailey Van Lith. Neither is Juju. I am really excited to see these girls ball out, and it's going to do nothing but good things for the league. More merchandise, viewership, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. They're going to get paid more in a couple of years. The salary cap's going to go up. You mark my words.
They certainly are knocking on the door of that. Cam, let's hear your thoughts on this.
Well, Nick's right, because I think this is the last year of the CBA for them anyway, so it's going to go up in 2 years. No, I think, the one thing that we're seeing with this year's draft class is that people who follow women's basketball, people who follow the WNBA, or people who follow these players have followed them before college. We knew about Paige Bueckers when she was in Minnesota, and we knew about Hailey Van Lith with the U.S. national team underage team. We then followed them to college to see if it would pan out the way we watched them play. It did. So these people coming in already have a following. If we watched the national championship game with Hailey Van Lith, not, let me put it this, reword it so it doesn't come out wrong. If we watched a national championship game, we saw Paige Bueckers there. You saw her jersey scattered throughout the crowd. When you watched Hailey Van Lith play at TCU, you saw the Louisville, TCU, LSU jerseys of Van Lith scattered throughout the crowd. These are people who, and fans that have watched these girls, or women, I should say, go through hell at points to get to where they are and put the time in, put the effort in. There's a video on YouTube of Hailey Van Lith doing summer workouts with NBA trainers. Clearly 5'9". You would have thought this girl was probably the number one female in the world, and she's doing these workouts that Steph Curry's doing. It's a different time. Diana said it best that, all these players coming in now have personal trainers. They've been working on their craft with professionals for years. So to Nick's point, these girls aren't throwing up air balls. It's all muscle memory for them. What do they say? Paige Bueckers this year was 50, 40, 80, 89. We've never had a 50, 40, 90 season in NCAA women's basketball. She almost hit it. I think it was the UCLA game. I think she missed some free throws that actually killed it. But we don't see that. And the fact that we're now seeing it's exciting because it just makes the game more exciting. And these are players you want to watch and you want to see. So, yeah, I think viewership will be even higher this year because you have all Paige's fans now waiting to see all of Caitlin Clark fans versus all Hailey Van Lith fans. These are all players that have come in with a background, So it's something that ironically, I don't think the men's side really has. A lot of the players on the NBA or even the college level, you find out about their freshman year. Only the phenoms do you find out about before they're in college. So I'm excited. I think it'll be a good year. I think obviously viewership will be up. I think the average person may actually pop in to see what a game looks like, and that'll be the make or break moment. But I think the teams are built to where you may want to watch.
Yeah, the thing with the WNBA is that the draft actually matters, where in the NBA it does matter to a T, but it's like we see teams like Charlotte and Portland, or maybe not Portland, I should say the Pelicans, New Orleans, Washington, draft players high almost every year. And it took a while for the Knicks as well. No offense, Nick, to build a team outside of getting free agents and big trades with players having so much power in the NBA to force a trade to another team. So the NBA narrative is a little bit different. It's let's see who can get a big three and then we'll make our title run. So it's a little bit different with, the teams being built and not having players not having an immense amount of power in the WNBA, and that's a better balance for the entire sport. And I will be watching significantly more this season. Just a fun thing to keep an eye on: Chicago Sky are playing Brazil in their first preseason game on May 2nd, so that'll be cool.
Is it televised? Do you know?
It it doesn't say just now, but I think it will be. That'll be cool. It's being played in Louisiana, it looks like.
Oh yeah, that's the game they're playing at LSU.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's transition from the WNBA to the NBA. And just before this gets lost on my mind, let me just tell you that Nick and I, when we collaborate for bets, we are 4 for 4 this year. We bet together on the Super Bowl. We bet together on Georgia, or not Georgia, sorry, Florida, making it to the finals and winning the finals, and now the big over on the Dallas Mavericks over the Kings. And I guess the best way that I could describe the Kings, because they're just that like mid-level team that shows flashes of greatness through the regular season, is they could probably get compared to a scrub daddy, like the sponge. It's good for a couple of uses, aka the regular season, and then when it comes down to the postseason, you have to throw it away. They're a perennial play-in team. I'm not, going off on this tangent to just, shit on the Kings the entire time. But we had two teams move on, and we got 2 games remaining. I'm going to start with the 2 games remaining because Dallas absolutely mollywopped the Kings last night. The next matchup between those two are the Mavericks and Grizzlies. And then we got the Hawks versus the Heat. The Hawks couldn't get it done versus the Magic the other night. They just looked like a team that didn't want to show up. So, Nick, I guess I'll start with you. Which of these 4 teams, obviously 2 of them can only make it to the last playoff spot, seed 8. Which of these teams do you think is going to make it between the Mavericks Grizzlies and the Heat Hawks matchups?
So as a compulsive gambler, within my means, of course, you're going to gamble, please gamble responsibly. Also, you're welcome, America, for the over, Dallas and Sacramento. Personally, I'm going to take Miami to beat Atlanta. I think Miami showed a lot of that playoff grit. Remember, this is a team that went to the finals. They went to the finals in the bubble, and then I'm pretty sure they went to the finals again pretty recently, right? So, like,
1 or 2
Bam
years
has
after
been,
the bubble, they did.
Yeah, lost to Denver.
yeah, Right. So they've been to the finals twice in the last like 5 seasons. So they have a ton of playoff experience. Bam Adebayo, uh, and Tyler Hero showed up last night, or the other night, excuse me. 23 in the first half. The Miami was up 71-45 on Chicago. So not only at half, so they got it done offensively, they got it done defensively. They have all this grit and toughness. I know they don't have Jimmy Butler anymore, but this looked like a team that still had playoff Jimmy on the team. Dudes were just active. They went at it. And for Atlanta, ever since they traded Hunter, this has been a completely different team, in my opinion. I don't know where Daniels was the other night. Reese, I think, has some promise as a rookie. I don't know where he was the other night. They got embarrassed by the Magic. Trae Young got ejected. I know he played, pretty good, but it's going to take more than that. And I think Miami, with the combination of defensive versatility, multiple guys getting at it, and being in that moment, Miami should not be a play-in team. At least that's what I thought at the beginning of the year. And being in the finals twice in the last 5 seasons, Miami should win this game. I took the Miami Heat. I already put a money line bet on them, on Fanatics. I actually like Fanatics a lot, by the way. But so I already took them. And transitioning to Dallas, Memphis. If Kyrie Irving was healthy, there'd be no doubt in my mind I'd take the Dallas Mavericks. But he's not there. With that said, Dallas's front court is coming healthy. Davis, Gafford, Lively, Klay Thompson looked like Splash Bros Klay, a resurgence there. I almost forgot he was still there, which is interesting.
I did
He played
forget he
really
was
well
still there.
too. He played really well. He's stepping up. The thing is, with Memphis, I think it's all going to depend on how much they can get out of Ja, right? Because he tweaked his ankle a little bit towards the end of the Warriors game. So if Ja isn't 100% and he has an off night, I would take Dallas. Right now, it looks like they're 6-point favorites. Is Memphis? I would consider taking Dallas with the points. Because I think if Ja plays well, Memphis should win this game. The over-under right now for that is 221, so I'd consider taking the over on that as well. If I had to pick, I'd pick Memphis to win, but I would not be shocked if Dallas somehow finds a way to get it done.
Yeah, like you said,
That's my
Klay Thompson with the eruption, specifically in the second quarter, he hit like 4 threes in a 2.5-minute span. He looked
yeah.
like the
He was
Splash
on
Brother
fire.
of old. Yeah, he went nuts. And also, not necessarily what he's known for, but Anthony Davis was also hitting threes as if he was a typical, 40% 3-point shooter. This guy was sitting on the outside of the arc rather than getting his ass down on the block. Because number one, he doesn't have to anymore with Lively and Gafford being back, and they're running the two big offense, which / defense. They're just running the two big lineup. Because for the past however many years with LA, AD has been playing the 5, and he didn't want to play the 5.
Yes.
So it's pretty interesting to see him at his natural position and what he can do at that point and not have to worry about, because he is a great defender, and so are the two centers with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford that Dallas has. It's cool to see him return to where he was in like a New Orleans. Cam, what are your thoughts on these two matchups?
To be honest, I really don't care about the Miami Atlanta matchup. I picked Miami to win the other night against Chicago. I think that says more about Chicago than it does Miami. I mean, our expectations for Chicago when they traded away Zach LaVine were probably nothing. We knew it was not a very good team. We did not expect them to make the playoffs, when in reality it's the play-in. You really don't have to be great to make the play-in. And they're playing a Miami team that had, for a good chunk of the year, was injured, and then didn't have motivated players. So I think we're seeing a motivated Miami team. We're seeing from Miami what we should have been seeing all year, but we weren't for multiple reasons. So I told Nick before the game, I expect Miami to win this, and I expect Tyler Hero to be the best player on the court. Him and Bam Adebayo. They were, and they blew him out. Atlanta needs to decide what they want to do. Do they want to have a team, yes or no? If not, trade Trae Young. Get some pieces and start over. But you can't do a half and half. You can't get rid of one of your best players, keep your best player, and then expect to win games. Like, that's not going to happen. And then you traded him to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who some people are picking to win an NBA title. So I don't think Atlanta knows what they want to do. They're at a crossroads. I don't expect them to win tonight either. So, I would be surprised. I know Trae Young's gonna play, but I would not be surprised if he didn't, to be honest. And I expect the Heat to come out and sorry to say it this way, but the Heat play, right? The Heat Atlanta. That's the game. Yeah.
Yep.
I expect them to mollywop the Hawks. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I feel Trae Young will have a good game, but we can go up and down the roster. I'd be hard pressed to put money on anybody else having a good game. So I think the Heat will win. They'll move into the 8th seed. And then I think we'll see a better series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I don't think they'll win that series. But, at the end of the day, they beat a bad Hawks team to get the 8th seed. But that's not their fault. You can only play who's in front of you. But yeah, I thought the other game was terrible. I was so disappointed. Thrilled for Miami, but I was Chicago. I mean, there's really little they could do. I mean, they weren't supposed to be there, but they were. But a lot of good young talent on the floor. I will say that. That's exciting. The future is bright in Chicago. In terms of the other game that we're looking to tonight, what is it? Memphis, Dallas. I think this is an interesting game. I agree with Nick 100%. If Kyrie Irving were healthy, this would be easy. Just pick the Mavericks. If Kyrie Irving were healthy, the Mavericks wouldn't be in the play-in. But he's not. It's an interesting dynamic because you're going to have Daniel Gafford versus Zach Edey, who are, in essence, the same player to an extent. Jaren Jackson Jr. versus Anthony Davis, who are, in essence, the same player to an extent. And then the difference will be what your guards give you. You have Bane versus Klay Thompson, which will be a great matchup, although I think Aaron Bane's a better defender. And then I think we said it. If the Memphis Grizzlies are to win this game, Ja Morant will have to go off. It is his show tonight. He is the best guard on the court. He should be able to do whatever he wants. We have bigs that have to guard bigs at the three-point line, and we have bigs that have to guard bigs down low. It couldn't be more of a carbon copy of what the Mavericks were supposed to look like if they had a healthy Kyrie Irving. I'm going with the Grizzlies in this game tonight. I think Ja Morant's three-point shot is awful, but I think he will get to the paint, and I think he will play very well. It was hard because I know the Mavericks have a lot of playoff experience, and I really don't want to pick against Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis. But Memphis doesn't have to play a 7-game series. They have to be better for one game. And the game, I believe, is in Memphis. One game at home tonight. I expect AD to have maybe a 30-10 game, but I don't think that will be enough. I think that the Memphis Grizzlies will be moving on. And that's my thought.
All right, so the winner of those two games will either play the Thunder if it's a West team, or on the East, it will play the Cavs. So moving on, the Warriors versus the Rockets. That was the other undecided last week when we briefly touched on the playoff bracket. Obviously, the Lakers aren't super excited about that because I feel like the Warriors are one of those teams that can stop them from getting to the Western Conference Finals. And although the Warriors did almost choke it the other night, and while Memphis was coming back, I'm not sure the Rockets want to be seeing the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. Cam, I know you back in the day you were a big Golden State fan. I'm not sure how on the upside you are with them recently, but what do you think about this matchup? Do you think the Rockets as a 2 seed are drastically better than Golden State, or are we still on the same bandwagon that 2 through 10 were practically even?
No, I picked Golden State for the upset last week. I said Golden State will beat the Rockets. I am very high on the Rockets. I think they're a very good team. But if you remember when Golden State won their championship, they played the Kings team that had no experience. And the concept behind it was if there was one team that could give the Kings back them trouble that you didn't want to see, it was Golden State. The one team I think the Rockets did not want to see, any other team I think they would be really good with. The one team that I think could give them problems is Golden State. You need not look any further than the last, Nick, what is it, 3 minutes or 2 minutes of the game where Steph Curry just went off and hit, I think, 3 consecutive threes from freaking weird angles. Head fake, 3 swish. Like, I don't think it's a matter of can the Rockets beat the Warriors because of their talent. They are a very talented team. I think it's a matter of can they stop Steph or the 3-point shooting that the Warriors will put up. And are they disciplined enough to know if we get down 10, we can not to panic. We won't let it go to 20.
And if you can stop Steph for whatever reason, even though the guy can swish it from beyond the half court line on a regular basis, can you stop playoff Jimmy?
And that's going to be the question. I think for once in Jimmy Butler's life, it's going to be interesting because the Rockets are going to have a problem. Who do you put Dylan Brooks on? Because I don't think he's the best defender in the league. I know he thinks he's a good defender. We'll say he's average, maybe slightly above. But you won't put him on Steph because he's not conditioned for that. I'm 99% sure Van Vliet is not conditioned for that. You don't want to wear out Jalen Green's legs. So Jimmy Butler is actually going to probably get Dylan Brooks. But Jimmy Butler is one of the smartest players in the league when you have a defender like Dylan Brooks on him. So I would not be surprised to see Dylan Brooks in foul trouble and Jimmy Butler just go off in this game. I will say this now. It could be a hot take, probably not if you've watched the games. Their center post, who I've been cheering for every game, I expect him to have a huge series. I think this will be his playoff coming out moment. Him and Brzezinski. And I think they take down the Rockets. It was my pick last week. When I saw the playoff brackets, I said if they can get past Memphis, I don't want to say it's an easy road to the final, but if LA can get by Minnesota, I think if you're the Warriors, you feel pretty good about playing in LA. And let's be honest, the Staples Center is a home court to the Lakers, but Steph Curry got fans everywhere. We saw them cheering for him when he went off at the Staples Center. By the way, who also has a team of players who can't guard him. So I'm not sure that the path for the Warriors isn't built for them to make the Western Conference Finals if they play the way they're capable of playing.
So yeah, I mean, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are just monsters at getting to the free throw line. They combined for 31 free throws.
Yeah.
I mean, that was 90% of their team's free throws. And they are both
And the,
high percentage free throw shooters.
and the thing about the Warriors team is that, you know, we say this a lot to players in sports. Know your role. You know, everyone on that team knows their role. And when they step out of it, you know, they get quickly put back into it. You know, no one's coming off the bench, even Buddy Hield to an extent, and jacking up 50,000 threes just because they don't touch the ball. Everyone's setting screens. Everyone understands that, look, if you get Steph open, chances are you're going to get open because he's going to get the double and then you're going to get the wide open shot. The players are playing with such high confidence right now that I think the Warriors are in a position where rest isn't going to be an issue because the first round of the playoffs for them is coaching and smarts. Ime Udoka is a very good coach who's won NBA championships with Greg Popovich. But Steve Kerr is a very good coach who also won championships with Greg Popovich, but has also won his own. So, and they're both very good defensive-minded coaches. So I'm very excited to see this first-round matchup that will start in Houston, I believe, on Saturday.
Nick, let's get your thoughts on this. Are you bullish on the Warriors now? And if so, has it changed your outlook on the Warriors' finals chances here, or at least getting to the Western Conference Finals?
I think they have a path to the Western Conference Finals. They will have to beat the Rockets, which I think they will, either in 6 or 7 games. And then, yeah, they'll have to play either LA or Minnesota. I'm not super bullish on them beating Minnesota. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I think they would prefer to play LA as well. If they get the Lakers, they have a chance. But yeah, I mean, the way the Warriors are playing right now today, with Podziemski, with Post, even Kuminga as well, who has been pretty quiet, but he can contribute at a high level. Gary Payton Jr. scoring off the bench. They're getting scoring from a ton of different places. So it's not reliant on Steph to go for 50, even though he can whenever he wants. Playoff Jimmy. This is the reason why Jimmy Butler was traded. That play-in game the other night is exactly why they traded for him, and it's exactly what they needed. They needed that second guy that could dominate a playoff game. It doesn't all have to be on Steph anymore. And that's going to be the difference in this series with Houston. Plus, Houston doesn't really have playoff experience like that. They're still very young, but they have all the promise in the world going forward in the future. But yeah, I'm taking the Warriors first round, and I'm very intrigued. I think, to me, the series to watch in the West first round is going to be Lakers Wolves, because I think it dictates the rest of the postseason more than any other series.
Sticking with you, Nick.
But to answer the question, to answer the question on the Warriors, I do think they get past the Rockets.
Gotcha. Sticking with you, Nick. Nuggets
Oh, that's me.
Clippers going to be a big matchup. The Clippers are real hot right now with Kawhi getting, super healthy and playing the last 15 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think either the four, the Nuggets, or the 5, the Clippers, which of those two teams have the chance to stop OKC?
It's a good question. I think this series is going to go 7 with the Nuggies and the Clippies. Speaking like a child here, I think it's easier that way. I'm going to take the Clippers in 7. They're 18-3 in their last 21 games. Like you said, Kawhi finally looks like Kawhi. He looks like the Claw again. Doesn't look like what we saw for the last couple of seasons. He finally looks like he's in a good place mentally and physically. James Harden is playing some pretty efficient basketball. and they're also getting contributions from was it Norman Powell has stepped up big time. They got almost a big three almost, and then they still got Zubac and company. So I think, and plus with the whole coaching situation, I don't really know what's going on with Denver. Obviously, they still have Jokic. I think it's going to depend on what Jamal Murray does. If Murray shows up, you might have a different story. But if Murray does, and I know Murray's been, kind of banged up the majority of the season and stuff, but Murray had a spell where he was awful, awful. And if that Murray shows up, I don't think Denver has a chance to beat the Clippers. So based on what I'm thinking would happen, I would think the Clippers would be the team to face OKC in the second round. So I would go with the Clippers, just because I think they're going to be there.
Yeah, like you said, the claw machine is kind of like an ironic comparison or nickname for Kawhi because obviously his hands are massive and he's just a great defender. It's like, when he opens up his wingspan, it's just he can guard anybody. But it's also like one of those things where it's like you're gambling on it and it just don't work most of the time until you've put enough money into it. So maybe that load management's pulling off here. But Cam, do you think Nick picked the Clippers? Do you think the Clippers have the best chance to derail OKC, or are you leaning in the Nuggets' favor this time?
I'm so glad Nick picked the Clippers because I'm going the other way, so we get a little separation here. I'm going with the Nuggets on this. It's funny they split the season series. I love the Clippers' depth. I want to get that out first. I love their depth. I think they've done an amazing job, but I feel I wish they weren't the 5 seed. I've got the Nuggets winning. I think Jokic, no matter what has gone on with their coaches, and I was still a little weary on that, he has shown up. He's keeping them together. We've said Jamal Murray has been up and down. He's found his sea legs a little bit. And I do like the way that their bench is coming along, almost like the Warriors, to the extent of do your job. Don't do any more than someone's asking you to do. Let your stars be stars. And I think Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun has played great. Michael Porter Jr., I think, will have to step up a little bit more. The bench depth isn't there for them as it was in the past. But I do think they have the pieces. I think Russell Westbrook coming off the bench is a huge difference maker to keep that going because as much as he can't shoot, he's very hard to stop in the mid-range and in transition. I do see it being a very interesting series, and I think Jokic, for me, tips it over. I think Kawhi Leonard's great. I think he puts up great numbers when he plays. But his numbers aren't Jokic numbers. James Harden, to me, will do James Harden things and may even give you a 50-point game during the series. But what we're going to see night in from Jokic is 25-plus points, 12-plus rebounds, and most likely 12-plus assists every night. Getting players who we didn't think were going to score easy buckets. And Jamal Murray will be the key to me, but whoever James Harden is guarding will probably have a big night. And he'll probably be guarding Christian Braun because I don't think Christian Braun's going to go for 30 a night, and they can hide James Harden on him, but I would expect him to move a ton. So I got the Denver Nuggets winning, and I say 6 or 7. I'm not sure. I think Game 1 will show us what's going to happen. I have the Nuggets winning Game 1. I think Mile High, the altitude for the first game is going to do it. I think they'll be amped up. Hopefully I'm right. But no, I got Denver winning because of Jokic.
So they got an interesting dynamic going over there in Denver. It's like you have I was going to say 2 walking triple doubles, but Russell Westbrook doesn't really walk. This guy is at like 100 miles an hour every game of the year. Dude, there's no one in the league that plays harder than Russell Westbrook, and it's been that way his entire career. You got Jokic who slows down the pace a little bit, and then, like you said, Cam, Russell Westbrook coming off the bench changes the pace a little bit and makes the Clippers have to sort of think on the fly or really prepare for that. Even though James Harden knows Russell Westbrook very well, being on several teams with him. But I'm saying that Russell Westbrook is actually going to be the player that could win or lose the series. I'm disagreeing with Nick that Jamal Murray is, because he has been clutch in the playoffs. I get all season it could be one thing, but it was that way during the bubble year, and they came back from a series where they were down 3-1, and it was all Jamal Murray at that point. So I think that if Jamal Murray's going to be coming up clutch, it's going to be this time of year. I think it's going to be Russell Westbrook, and specifically his turnovers, that's going to decide the series, because we've all seen Russell Westbrook sprint the ball up the court, bounce it off his foot, out of bounds turnover. We've also seen him go up, jack up a three, air ball. We've seen all these, bad highlights of Russell Westbrook that sort of overshadow his whole game. I think that if his chance is going to be to win an NBA championship in his career, it's going to be with Denver. I didn't like his fit in LA. I didn't like his fit with Houston. I didn't like I should say LA twice, because I didn't like him with the Clippers either. So, Nick, I guess I'll give you a chance to bounce back, since we're kind of both going against you here, on if you have anything to say. If not, we could transition to our next topic.
No, man, I don't disagree with anything that was said. I think Christian Braun will have a pretty big series as well. I do like Christian Braun. I don't know, man. I just like there's something going on with LA right now. To me, they're the hottest team in the NBA. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I think they're peaking at the right time. And I do also agree with Cam. I think game one is going to set the tone. That first game, and if the Clippers were to win game one, Denver would have to blow them out in game two, in my opinion. But we will see what happens. They play Saturday, so I am taking the Clippers money line. So I'm gonna stick with my guns here, going out in a blaze of glory if I have to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm very hard pressed to go against it. And again, I think if the Clippers were in any other seed but 5, we're probably making them the favorite to come out of whatever series they're playing in. In terms of the other part of your question, Matt, do I think either one of those teams can beat OKC? I think the pieces are there. I love the defense OKC plays, so I would love to say the Clippers, because James Harden always has a good game when he goes back to OKC and plays, but I think if there's a team to take them out in the second round, I think Denver would be that team. Again, Jokic, Westbrook's home cooking in OKC, and just the overall, at that point, playoff experience to take out OKC. There's no atmosphere that's going to rattle them, because they've been there, they've done that, they've won that. The Clippers have underachieved the last dozen years, so I don't think the atmosphere would rattle them as much, but I could see the momentum shifting the other way and going down 10, and then all of a sudden they're down 25. Whereas the Nuggets, I feel, we don't score, throw it down low to Jokic, we're good. We don't score, rely on Jokic, we're good. I think they have an answer to any run that OKC could make, whereas I don't think the Clippers necessarily would. They have good players, but it'd be more jump shot, hope the foul is called to stop momentum. And at that point, you're relying on the refs. You're not going to get it. So I think Denver would be the team, if there was a team, to between those 4 to or 3, I should say, to beat OKC.
All right, so we're going to transition to the East, and I'm only going to discuss one game in the East, because we haven't. I think we pretty much are set in agreement with the majority of that bracket. But we got to talk about the Celtics the Magic matchup, since we know now that Orlando has clinched the 7 and will be playing Boston in the first round. What's interesting about the Orlando and I didn't really look into this at first, because I'm like, well, Orlando doesn't really have a shot, because they go through significant scoring droughts, typically around the third, fourth quarter. You just see like 5, 6, 7 minute spans where they're just not scoring any points. However, In the last 10 games versus Boston, this is dating back till October of 2022. Orlando has won 6 of those 10 games. Cam, odds are you're leaning towards Boston in the series, but with that sort of statistic, does Orlando have the firepower to outlast or at least make it a series with Boston in the first round?
That was a cute stat, but the answer is no. To be honest, you know what it is? I think that if the cards aligned this year and we got to see Orlando 100% healthy, they wouldn't be in the situation they're in because they are a very good team. Again, they're playing the wrong team in the first round, to be honest with you. I think Boston 3-point shot just comes in waves. And I don't know if Orlando will be able to handle that. They have very good talent, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, very good players. They have very good supporting pieces, but they don't have experience. And that's what's going to kill you when you go to Boston. I would not be surprised if they won a game at home and made it a 5 games series, but I don't see them going past 5. I think they're a little better than a sweep, to be honest. I think Boston will be due a cold shooting game, and it'll probably be in Orlando. I know there's some things right now with Jaylen Brown. We're kind of up in the air. He's getting shots on his knee. So we don't know his status. We know he'll probably play, but is he the old Jaylen Brown? Is he playoff Jaylen Brown, or is he just there? We won't know until they actually play. So, I mean, I expect every game to be competitive, and then the fourth quarter will decide it, either a blowout or a close game. But I don't expect it to be a Actually, that's not true. I take that back. I think the second and third quarters will decide if it's a blowout. The fourth quarter will be kind of over with by then. But I think every game up to a certain point will be competitive, and then Boston will find a way to win, or it'll be a win and a rout. But I think Orlando will steal a game. And I can't emphasize it enough that they played a ton of games without their best players this year, and that's why they are in the 7th spot. Kudos to making the play-in without both stars for a good chunk of time. But, unfortunately, Boston's the 2, and that's the way the cookie crumbled this year for them. So, no, I don't expect them to make it too competitive.
Well, my stat didn't, impress Cam too much. Nick, did my stat convince you to go against Boston?
No, your stat impressed me. It was a very impressive stat. It ain't wavering me.
So, I think this goes more than 5 games. It will go 6. No, I'm not picking. I'm not picking against Boston. Boston's too loaded. Especially they get way more production from their bench. Plus, I don't think Orlando has seen a fully healthy Boston team. It's a whole nother animal. I do think Paulo will get you one at home. And you know what? I would not be shocked because the thing that kills Boston is, yes, they shoot the 3 at a historic clip. But there are nights where they also miss the 3 at a historic clip. And in those same games, they get to foul trouble early. With the way Orlando can play defense, if they have an off night, they could snag a game in Boston. I wouldn't be shocked if Orlando wins game 2 and they win maybe game 4 in Orlando. And then from there, it's a wrap. Because I don't think they can beat Boston 4 times, let alone 3. So it's a cool stat. I love Paolo Banchero. I think he's a great young player. Franz Wagner is also very good. Cole Anthony as well. But it's just not enough. It's not Jason Tatum. It's not Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Derek White, even Pritchard is a 30-point bucket apparently. So I just don't think they have enough, firepower. And again, if Orlando had a fully healthy team the whole year, they would be better than the 7. But this is where they're at. If they had somehow played Cleveland again, I think we have a very different story. But they're not. So unfortunately, they're not getting past the Celtics. I'm taking Boston in 6.
Interesting. So, isn't
I
it
think
crazy how Boston, like when they're off on the 3, it's the entire team. It's not just like Jaylen Brown's off or Jason Tatum's off. It's the entire team just can't shoot the 3 for some reason. Isn't that pretty crazy?
Yeah, I think, they are a 3-point shooting team. Live by the 3, die by the 3. And Nick's right. They look really good when they make them and look really bad when they don't. When they make the 3, even when they take them, we're saying to ourselves, this is wrong with the NBA, but they're making a good clip of them. They're just taking a ton. To me, this series will go the same as every Celtics series will go. The only person who there's no matchup for in the Eastern Conference on their team is Porzingis. If he shows up every game, the Celtics will probably win every game. If he slacks off and settles for the 3 when he shouldn't, which he's been very good at lately, they will lose. Because you can find matchups throughout the playoffs where somebody else could be the best player on the court, but the mismatch will still be Porzingis. If we put Giannis on Jason Tatum, we're not going to turn around and think that Jason Tatum's going to put up 40. If we put, Drew Holiday on Donovan Mitchell, we're going to look around and say, okay, well, Donovan may not put up that many numbers. But I don't know if there's a player in the East that we could say will put on Porzingis, and Porzingis technically could not have his way. So, unfortunately, Orlando will be the first team we test the theory against. And I do see them coming out against the Magic. And again, Nick's going 6. I'm going being nice and going 5 because the one thing we've seen all year, Pritchard coming off the bench, is if it's not one of the stars' nights, it's somebody else's night. And it's been Pritchard at a lot of chunk of the season where come off the bench, hit 5-6 threes. Hauser, come off the bench, hit 3-4 threes. Next thing you know, your bench has 20-something points. So, and Luke Cornett has been playing good too. I don't want to not say his name in this. So, I'm going Boston in 5.
Sounds good. Going to be an interesting first round for sure. On both sides of the NBA, there might be some turmoil that gets stirred up with, teams that probably shouldn't be beating other teams, maybe stealing a game here or there, but Cam's going with the gentlemen's and Nick isn't going with the gentlemen's. Nick is going to be a savage and just say Orlando's going to get them twice. It is very possible, especially with that stat that I put out there. Let's transition.
I love how
Go ahead.
I love how Cam said he was being nice. He's like, yeah, I'm being nice and making it 5 games. Like, at least I'm giving them an extra one.
Look, I liked Orlando this year. Again, if it wasn't for their injuries and the less continuity, and if Mo Wagner were playing, I would give them 2 because I think his chemistry with his brother and Paolo, and even Caltavius Pope, I think that they could have stolen an extra game. I just don't see it without him. The pieces are there, but I don't know if the pieces will show up.
We shall see.
But if that makes you the nice one, then hey, you can be the nice one tonight. Because Lord knows in other sports, you are not the nice one.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, come on now. Don't scare our viewers like that.
I'm not. You have the section, Nick's rants.
All right, let's transition to the NFL here. We went through our mock draft a couple weeks ago, so we're not going to go into details like that. We might talk about a few players here or there. But the question I was going to lean, I'm going to ask Nick this first, because I think he was pretty excited to answer this one. What team do you think has the biggest advantage going into the draft now that free agency is practically over?
Biggest advantage.
Correct.
Interesting. Well, there's a few ways we can look at this. We can look at a team that has a ton of draft picks, right? We can look at teams that made a lot of moves in free agency and are maybe one piece away from, making a run or something, right? So I'm going to go, and I cannot believe I'm doing this right now because everybody knows go Birds all day. However, with that in mind, I think the team with the biggest advantage going into the draft is the Washington Commanders. The reason being, I think they had one of the best off seasons that they could have had with a now second-year quarterback that is poised to take over the league, if he hasn't already, in Jaden Daniels. You bring in Debo. You bring in Laramie Tunsil. You spent a bunch of money the previous offseason on defensive pieces with Dan Quinn. So this draft could solidify Washington as legit contenders for years to come if they play their cards right. So with that, I know they could use a defensive back, I believe. I think because they're picking end of the first round, I think they may go towards that. Because they've invested a lot now in Jaden with those trades. So I think if I were to see any team that could be at an advantage, it'd be Washington because they're young. They still have a lot of money. They're well positioned going forward. And this draft could solidify that. So that's who I would pick.
Cam, let's hear it. What team do you got having the biggest advantage heading into next week?
I was gonna say Washington, so I'm not thrilled that Nick took my pick.
If you want a
You know what?
chance to, I was going to say,
I'm gonna
if you
switch
wanted
it
a
up a little.
chance, go ahead.
Wait, I wanted it. I think one of the teams I'm gonna say, and it might be a little out of left field here. I'm gonna say, what are they called? The Chargers. We have been lamenting Justin Herbert to show up. He's kind of been the quarterback who fell out because other quarterbacks have taken that step forward. We've not really put all eyes on the Chargers. Haven't really cared until Harbaugh got there this past year. Having a coach who believes in your quarterback, Justin Herbert had a great year for his standards, I should say. Had a great year. They made the playoffs. He got that taste. And I think they're positioned well. They did lose some players, but they got some others. I think they can go in any direction now in the draft to an extent, and they're in a good position. And I think that will set them up for how far they will go next year. They have the foundation, which I don't think they had. If you thought Herbert was their foundation, then the past few years probably you were a little cracked thinking that. But I think you have it, and I think you have a coach who believes in it. You have some players who I think are budding superstars, and you now have a draft where you have things you need, but you really have no pressure to get any particular person in the draft. So people can fall to you, and I still think there will be trades made from their team because they don't have that pressure. So in a way, I feel they're in a good situation going forward.
Gotcha. So we're all going to go in different directions then. Because of all teams, I'm going to pick the 49ers. The reason being is the past few years, the 49ers have had like no draft capital since they gave up picks upon, especially first round picks to get Trey Lance, who didn't even really touch the field in San Fran for longer than a few games. However, they have 8 picks, including 2 compensatory, 1/3, 1 4th-round pick. They have 8 picks in the top 160, and this is the most draft capital they've had since 2019. I think Kyle Shanahan, this is sort of his make or break it moment. If he could fix what he is letting fall apart in San Francisco with the draft, they could be dangerous, because we know that youth is sometimes, live by the sword, die by the sword type situation, where you're getting younger to where your team's capital is cheaper, but at the same time you don't know if that experience is going to be needed, which we didn't really see as needed for Jaden Daniels. So I do agree with Nick that Washington is one of those teams where they have a huge advantage. However, I don't like that they're picking that late in the first round, which is sort of why I'm going with the 49ers. Their first round pick is the 11th overall pick. They might be able to leverage that a little bit. They don't have to give up a king's ransom to really get into the top 10. They might not obviously want to go all the way because they have their quarterback in a top 3 offensive line at this moment, but they need to fill a gap in receiver. Who knows if they'll be able to get McMillan, and they got to fill some holes on that defensive line, which this is a really deep draft year for defensive linemen, whether interior or exterior. They're both very solid picks. Other than that, I don't really see a team that can really just get to the next level in the draft other than the 3 that we actually named, which is convenient enough. I'm not sure, and I'm almost positive Dallas can't do it. The Giants, I mean, this is just, they have the most pressure, I feel like, out of these teams, because their whole coaching staff is going to be just destroyed if they don't do anything after this year, because they've gotten top picks for the past couple of years now. Anyway,
Yeah.
staying on the NFL, which players, and I'm talking after the first round because we only did our first round mock draft, what players do we think post maybe a day 2, day 3 type situation, which players will have a sneaky big impact in the NFL? And I'm going to lean on Cam first. Players that you might not expect to go either as high as they are in the second round, or players that you sort of forgot about that fell. Which players do you think that are going to be going on day 2, day 3 are going to make the biggest impact in the NFL? Like immediate impact, not just like long term.
Ooh, that's a good question. Was this prepared for? I don't feel I have an answer for this one yet.
It was in the chat.
No, I
So
know. I'm just busting your chops.
I know there's hundreds of players that you could pick from, so it's really up in the air. But
the first round is how many picks? I always forget.
32.
It's 32 picks
It's
in the first round.
32 each round.
I want to say all the people that I thought would have had a huge impact, and I hate saying it this way, but I think question is what happens, and I know we already talked about it, but what happens with Shedeur? That is the key to me, because if he goes there, then quarterbacks are going to fall. And then on that note, I think quarterbacks in the second round, who would have been a first round had Shedeur not gone, would have been the biggest pick. So I'm going to stay away from that because, again, it's possible he could be a first pick. I'm going to go Travion Henderson. I mean, I know I had him go in the first round. A lot of mocks have him in the second, but I'm going to go Travion Henderson. I think a running back I think he will be the one that'll have a decent career, a better career. I don't really see too many people. I think this draft is more needs to fill positions than it is let's build a team around you. So I think he'll have a good year. I think he'll be a steal. And I think we'll be wondering why he wasn't in the first round when he comes to the second round. I think I answered your question. I think that was what it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my guess is Travion Henderson. Obviously, I think there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people, but I'm going there.
Nick?
So I have 3 players, if that's okay. Actually,
Sure.
4.
Sure.
One.
So what?
Nothing. I'm
What?
teasing.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can do one for now. The one person that I think will be an immediate impact the most, and he's actually falling on the board, is a guy that I want really bad.
Kenny
Jack
Pickett.
Sawyer, edge rusher from Ohio State. Kid's for real. He's falling. He's like late second round, early third, and he should be a first round pick, in my opinion. I don't know if he had a bad workout or anything, but listen, the tape don't lie. All right? The tape don't lie. This kid jumps out on tape. He is an impact player. He commands double teams inside and out, and he makes plays from the edge position, and you can never have enough edge rushers in today's NFL. So he'd be number 1. That's on the defensive side. I also like Schwessinger, UCLA's linebacker. Stuart Schwessinger. I think he's going to be very underrated. He's a tackling machine. And
You
the
talking
other
about the
person that I'm
linebacker?
thinking of, yes, from UCLA,
Okay.
Stuart Schwessinger. That's
I
another
thought it
name.
was Carson.
Is it Carson?
I think so.
Oh, it is Carson. Sorry. Carson Schwessinger. Sorry, it's Carson. Please subscribe. I didn't mean to mess up your name. And then there is one other player that I've actually watched very closely this year on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to go with Xavier Restrepo. He's a slot receiver from Miami. The key as a wide receiver in the NFL is how quickly can you get open, and he gets open very quickly. He'll be a perfect fit wherever he goes, and I really like the way he plays, almost exclusively in the slot. But last year he had he's had 2 straight seasons with over 1,000 yards, over 13 yards of reception, and he had 11 touchdowns last year from Cam Ward. So look for Xavier Restrepo to make an impact immediately, almost like a Jackson Smith and Jigba type player.
I'm going to go defensive line because I've been hammering this defensive line in this draft class is just so deep. So I'm going to go with Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. He's a big boy. He's about 6'2", almost 6'3", 334 pounds. He had a hamstring that he suffered while running the 40-yard dash at the pro day last month, but hopefully that's not a long-term issue for him because he is explosive. He had a handful of top 30 visits, but the thing is I don't think that with the depth of our first round, I think he's gonna fall to a day 2 pick. So I think that whatever team can grab him is gonna get a steal at D tackle because there's a lot of teams that need one desperately. I can name 6 off the top of my head immediately. So there's that. Anyway, Cam had also mentioned that the quarterback situation with Shador is going to sort of determine what happens with the rest of the QBs. I know last week I was just like, oh, Mike Tomlin doesn't even want to meet with Shador. Now all I'm seeing, ever since I said that, all I'm seeing is Mike Tomlin is huge on Shador. If he's there at 21, he's drafting him. And I am just sort of ruining that day already. I don't want that to happen. I'm hoping Dallas takes the flyer on him or some other team. But I'm really praying that Shador does not go to Pittsburgh. I think the unanimous consensus amongst the Steeler Nation is we want Jackson Dart.
Mm.
So
It's funny. I was watching a lot of stuff, and this is why I was so excited to say they were going through their mock drafts, and they have Shador now. I know we didn't put Shador in our top 4 based off of feedback and our personal feelings, and at the end of the day, it was our draft. But it looks like they could have Shador. I know people are saying to New York, which it is what it is. I'm not a Giants fan. I could care less. Do I think he deserves to be the second quarterback taken? Sure, as long as he don't go number 1. I don't think he deserves to be the first quarterback taken. But if New York wants to make another bad decision, hey, that's what they've done the last few years. Why not make another one? I'm excited because I feel that opens up a spot for Jackson Dart to go in the first round, because I do feel that he would be a very good fit in New Orleans. I feel he's better than Derek Carr. If you feel Derek Carr is better, go for it. Keep him and let him learn right behind him. They are, in essence, almost the same player to an extent, but I like Jackson Dart's moxie a little better. And I think New Orleans would have a turnaround. They have the pieces there to an extent, so that would be great. I'm very excited. He was going to be my second round person to say, but I really strongly and hopefully believe he will go in the first round. The best player, best quarterback, nobody's talking about. Well, everyone's talking about him, but unfortunately, he's behind the other 2. But that is my hot take. I'm going for it. Jackson Dart to New Orleans.
all right. So stay tuned for the NFL draft. We will be discussing it on our next podcast, or specifically our winners, losers. If we were shocked about the draft, so we'll move on to an area that we haven't really talked much about since we started the podcast, and we're going to be on the ice rink. And this isn't football on ice. This isn't basketball on ice. This isn't figure skating. We're talking about the NHL, one of the most ruthless leagues with respect, one of the most ruthless sports to be played in hockey. That being said, these past few weeks, there's been some hot teams as of late. The Penguins every year make that push and just fall short of the playoffs these past few years. So very disappointed in that season for them. However, they are winning against Washington, who is a top team at right now, 5-2. So I guess I'm going to lead with Washington because they're one of the hottest teams as of late. Ovechkin's just cooking with goal scoring. Nick, who do you view? Do you view as Washington as the team to beat in the playoffs, or do you have another pick?
Specifically in the Eastern Conference,
Yes.
Washington. I would stick with Toronto as the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. To me, I know Washington's probably going to be the 2 in the East. So I personally think it's going to be Washington, Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they're the 2 best teams through and through. Which is interesting. The Capitals can score a lot of goals. But for some reason they have a proficiency of losing close games. So they either win by a blowout or they'll lose really close. I just think Toronto's a bit more of a complete team in terms of being able to finish. And also, if we're talking hot, Toronto has won 5 games in a row going into the playoffs. So as your 1 seed. So they'll have home ice if they were to play Washington. And I think that would be the difference for me.
Cam, do you have any opinion on hockey? I know you're just sort of getting used to watching it a little bit. Do you have any opinions on the end of the season and what team you think is hot going into it?
Well, full disclosure for people out there, I've never really watched a hockey game. So in terms of this, I have to read a lot of articles and rely on on these 2. But it's funny Nick said Toronto because that's actually the team I had written down on a wild goose chase. Don't know why, I just picked them. But no, I looked at their last 10 games. I believe they're 8-1-1. They're, like Nick said, they're on a winning streak. I saw 4, but he said 5, so I might have to relook into that. But no, I think Toronto was the team I picked to come out of the East. I have a lot of friends who are Capitals fans, and they were telling me Capitals, but I'm a contrarian, so I went against it. So right now I'm looking pretty good with my pick. If Nick agreed with me, then I'm happy about that. But I'm gonna say Toronto. That is, again, not having a lot of knowledge on the sport, but going based off the stats that I found, I think Toronto would be the team to come out of the East. I know 1 seeds or 2 seeds don't always win everything, but for me, while I'm learning the sport, I'm gonna stick with it and go with the stats. So I'm going with Toronto.
Nick, I just have a sort of a clarification point here. Are we sure that Washington isn't the 1 seed because they had more points during the regular season than Toronto in terms of I know it's different than that's where basketball and hockey differ is that it's more of like a soccer style uh rankings. It's based off points. So if you lose in overtime, it's 1 point, and if you win a game, it's 2 points.
Oh yeah, it looks like Washington
So
has
in that case,
111.
Washington probably will be. What's weird is I'm on the website right now. Does Washington have an? Oh, it doesn't matter. They have 111 to 108. Yeah, so Washington should be the 1,
I think
but it's
there's two.
showing.
I think there's 2 1s.
Yeah, that's what I saw when I saw it.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so then Washington would have home ice then
It
against
it,
Toronto
it
if they were to
appears to
play?
be so. Yes.
That's weird. So on NHL's website, right? Because Winnipeg would be the 1 in the West,
Hmm.
right? And they're in the same spot as Toronto,
Okay.
like just on the other side of the bracket.
Right.
Because is Ottawa the 8?
I'm seeing like on the ESPN bracket, I'm seeing Ottawa as a 4, and I'm also seeing the Canadians as a 4, which is weird because I've never seen it like that in any NHL bracket that I've ever looked at in the
Yeah.
past years.
Are they
I've
doing a
always seen
different
1 through 8.
format this year?
That I don't know.
Oh yeah. So it looks like it's just 4 bracket. That's weird. Why wouldn't they just do 1 through 8?
It is that setup. Yeah.
I see what you're seeing now.
It's division based with wild cards.
That's dumb.
So
You gotta fix
all
that
all
NHL.
signs look like Washington is going to be the home
The
ice.
1.
Yeah.
I'll still take Toronto.
Sucks.
Just for
I said it
just
on
for
TV. I said it loud. I'm taking it too.
yeah. I said it already. I'll stick with my pick.
I'm taking
I won't change
Washington,
it.
and I'm taking
Yeah.
Washington. Yeah, I'm taking Washington because I want to see as much as Ovechkin has been a rival when it comes to, Penguins versus Capitals. I love when players retire as winners, and I think if he wins, he'd be satisfied to hang the skates up. So just as sort of a narrative and happy ending story type situation, we got to see Ray Lewis retire a champion. We got to see Peyton Manning retire a champion. Tom Brady
Mm.
decided that he wanted to go out a loser in multiple different facets. Um,
Still got to call him the goat.
Still got to call him the GOAT. Yeah, we could have this discussion another day. But we've seen a lot of athletes, Jerome Bettis, to name like a lower tier Hall of Famer. He went out a champion, so it's nice to see legends go out with wins. However, I know you're saying that you're picking Toronto, but Nick, is Toronto the
Yeah.
team that you're picking to win the cup?
No.
Please share.
So I'm going out on a limb here because again, I'm not a compulsive gambler, I'm an impulsive gambler. I am picking the Edmonton Oilers to win it all. I think they can beat the Kings in a best of 7 series. I don't think Las Vegas is actually that good this year. I think they're overrated. I don't think they're going to play Dallas because Dallas is on a 7-game losing streak and one of their better players just got injured last night. I think the Avalanche will beat them. Avalanche will probably play Winnipeg. That's going to be a long series. I think they have the easiest road to get there. And you know what? I think it'd be kind of fitting if Washington does win the East, right? Because we would get Ovechkin versus Connor McDavid,
Yep.
and it'd be the passing of the torch to the next GOAT, Connor McDavid. How sick would that be? But yeah, I don't know. I like where Edmonton is positioned right now. I really do.
Can I jump in real quick, Nick? Because I
Sure.
don't want this point to go away. What do we mean by passing the torch from the next to the next GOAT?
The next GOAT, man.
No.
Ovechkin's the greatest scorer in hockey history.
Greatest scorer. Are you saying that he's the greatest player?
Yeah. Ovechkin, no.
Okay. All right.
No.
I'm making sure
listen,
because there's another
GOAT at the time.
there's another player currently in the NHL that I still think is better than Ovechkin. So I'm just making sure that we're.
Are you going to say Sidney Crosby?
I am.
Oh my goodness.
He's way more decorated.
That's a Penn's bias.
No, he's way more decorated. He's got three NHL cups, and he just came off winning the Four Nations Championship and multiple gold medals. All right, we'll table this conversation until later.
If Ovechkin was Canadian with the 2 gold medals, no, I'm just kidding. But in general, I'm looking at the betting odds right now. Edmonton at plus 950. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the 5th best odds. They have better odds than Winnipeg. They have better odds than Washington. They have better odds than Toronto, and they have better odds than the Kings. All teams that are above them. I love where they are right now. I think that's great value.
Edmonton was just there last year, so
that's what I'm saying. And they have a superstar.
Yeah.
Who was on the Four Nations Championship team.
Yep. Sure was.
I like it. Give me Edmonton.
And what's crazy is McDavid isn't even the leading scorer on their team.
I know. Right now on Fanatics, the Florida Panthers are the betting favorites, and Dallas is second. But I don't think Dallas is getting out of the first round. I think that's a sucker's bet.
The thing with Dallas is they're one of those teams that doesn't do well in the playoffs year after year, no matter how favored or hot they are going in. And like you said, they're on a losing streak.
And one of their better players got hurt last night, Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know how long he's out?
Let's see if there's an injury update on that.
Best part about Dallas is he needs 2 L's.
Because he got hurt in the finale.
Get it? 2 L's?
Yes, I get it.
Okay, thanks. So an update on his status for the first round is expected to be provided tomorrow.
Okay.
Friday. So we'll know then.
All right, Cam.
Interesting.
You got any favorites that you're looking at to win the cup?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was enjoying that little debate between you and Nick going back and forth on Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. So I say we use my time to talk about that because I enjoyed the little banter. No. Again, I'm actually, based off of what you guys are saying, I guess my pick is going to be a little bit of an outlier. I'm going to go with the Golden Knights. I know Nick said that he doesn't think they're really that good, but hey, you know what? Every playoff needs an underdog story, so I'm going with the Golden Knights out of the West.
So
yes, that means they're going to upset Winnipeg, but I'm still going with it.
Oddly enough, I don't know if the Wild were supposed to be in the playoffs.
The who?
The Minnesota.
Oh, good.
The team that's playing Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Don't matter. I'm going with it.
Minnesota Wild, Minnesota Mild, don't matter. Golden Knights in 3.
Yeah, they did. They had a crazy game versus Anaheim. I knew it was this team because it was Marc-Andre Fleury's. We thought that he was going to have his last game the other day. and they ended up winning. It was an overtime victory against the Ducks. And I mean, if we know anything about Marc-Andre Fleury, is that he shows up in the playoffs for the most part. So we'll see how that series goes. I don't think they get past the Golden Knights either, but it would be awesome to see just because I'm pretty sure Fleury is retiring after the season as well. So hats off to him, one of the greatest goalies of all time. Anyway, speaking of, because I wanted to bring this up. Hold on, I got one more point to bring up here. We talked about the hottest team. We talked about our predictions. Nick, do you have any dangerous teams that you think could spoil the party for any of our top picks?
Not gonna lie. I have seen the Colorado Avalanche play.
They're so nasty.
I've been watching them a little bit. They can definitely make some noise out of the West, and I think the New Jersey Devils could give Washington a little bit of a hassle, but I don't think they can beat them in a 7-game series without home ice. The Devils are interesting because they're one of those streaky, like they could score 7 goals and then they'll score 0 the next 3 games. So you don't really know what you're getting from them, which to me, the unpredictability can make them dangerous. They could just go off at any minute, and then you're like, oh shit, now we're down 4-0, right? So, if I were to pick anybody, I would say the most dangerous team would be Colorado. But yeah, don't be surprised if New Jersey gets to the second round, though. Even though they're playing Carolina, Carolina's pretty good, but
Carolina's
yeah,
on
I would say
another losing bender. They lost like 6 of
yeah.
their last 8 games.
I think New Jersey could make like what's volume like 3 maybe. They could not like not like that kind of noise, but like a a little murmur. They could be someone to watch out for.
They're firing up the Zamboni.
Yeah, right. Take like 15 minutes, but if I were to pick anyone, I'd say Colorado. They got a
I'm
good draw.
taking Carolina. And the reason being is because they're on such a cold streak.
Damn
I
it,
think
Matt,
they
that was
turn it around.
mine.
Hey, listen, we got to go with whether they're in Carolina or not, they're still the Whalers. So
That's right.
they just relocated. They flew south for a couple winters.
And that was literally going to be the reason I picked too. That's really funny.
Yeah, no, they're out of the East. They're my dark horse team. They could really make noise. They're a very fast paced team, so look out for them. Speed always kills, especially in the playoffs. That's how Florida's been so dangerous these past few years. Even when they weren't ready yet, they got done last year. I mean, that whole
They won it
matchup was
last year, right?
fast. Yeah, they won last year. It was tight, but Florida won it last year, and they were fast. But Edmonton is also scary fast. I'm also going to go with the Avalanche because Nathan McKinnon is just an absolute beast, and they also are removed either 2 or 3 years. I think it's only 2 that they're removed from winning their last cup. So those are my 2 picks. Cam, we already know that you're going with the old Whalers. Do you have anything else to provide?
No, I'm going with my boss, huge Hurricanes fan, has season tickets, and somehow every other week is down there in a game. Shout out my friend, Nick, him, Brian Medina, down in Carolina at games, so that's where I'll support both of them on that one, and I'll say let's go Carolina.
We gotta get Medina to start sharing this podcast down in North Carolina because we're showing them some love right now.
Carolina Whalers. That's what their real name should be. I don't know if there are any whales in North Carolina though.
There might be, but there's definitely Hurricanes.
Yes, there are.
That's hilarious.
Anyway,
Pun intended.
so being that I have control of the soundboard and the questions,
Wow.
I know it's once every 3 weeks.
Goddamn.
Nick, I don't know if Cam was kind of got a little bit of a preview a couple minutes ago. I'm not going to go into the top 5. Where do you rank Alex Ovechkin after he broke the all-time scoring leader? Because I need to continue this conversation with you since it got cut short earlier. We got to get back on the point. Do you rank him in your top 5 all time?
Do you?
No,
Let me answer your question with a question. You don't put him in the top 5?
I don't.
You do not. What is your top 5? Because I know you have one.
Yeah. Oh, I have one. I got Wayne Gretzky number 1.
Okay, me too.
I got
Even still.
Mario Lemieux at number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to change the order real quick. I got Sidney Crosby number 4.
Okay.
Bobby Orr at number 3. And Yager at 5.
Wow.
And I got Ovi at 6.
Ovi at number 6. Okay. All right. So my top 5. I hope you're ready. I think you might get upset. I have Wayne Gretzky at number 1 because he is the greatest.
Yep.
I actually have Bobby Orr at number 2.
That's fine. He's a great player.
Number 3, Patrick Roy. Number 4, Nicholas Lidstrom, 20-year defenseman of the Red Wings. And I am going to put Mario Lemieux at number 5. Ovi's not in my top 5 either.
Oh, okay. You just don't
I
have
actually have
Crosby in there?
Yager at number 2. I do not have Crosby in the top 5.
No.
I have to put Lemieux in there because he was the first NHL video game I ever had was Blades of Steel 1999.
Oh, it's a legendary game.
And Mario Lemieux was on the cover.
Yeah.
He was the first real hockey player I remember.
I believe I still have that game.
So do I. I also have Face Off 97, which I believe Lidstrom is on the cover of.
You have Tecmo Bowl?
No, I wish.
I've been looking for it.
I believe Lidstrom is on the cover.
Wait, so where did you have Crosby ahead of Ovi or no?
Oh, I was just trolling you.
Oh,
I didn't really
gotcha.
look into it too much.
Oh, gotcha. Well, yeah, I don't think Ovi is there yet. Maybe if he wins another championship, I might bump him up. I might bump Yager out, even though Yager was just like he was something else. Number 1, he played till he was like 40. And number 2, he's a huge enforcer, and that means a lot.
True.
Anyway, let's move on to. Let's start with. I know we normally end with this, but Cam, are you ready to give your jam of the week? You're on mute.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't turn over. Yeah. You know what? I don't have any particular game to watch, but I'm with Nick on this. I will say this. Anthony Edwards is probably the player you want to keep an eye on during this postseason. I think the Timberwolves have the opportunity to play spoiler to any team in the West. We watched Ant Edwards this year take out OKC twice, basically by himself. If there is one team they do not want to see, it is the Timberwolves. We are looking at, and I know all intents and purposes, people are looking at the Lakers to go to the finals, but the first step is getting past the first round. And even though the Timberwolves are the 6th seed and the Lakers have home court, we've seen Anthony Edwards go off on players this year. He may start slow in a game, 0 of 1, 0 of 2, 0 of 3, maybe even 0 of 4. But if there was a player in the league right now who we would say is closest to Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan with that assassin killer mentality, talking shit and backing it up, it is him. I am very excited to see him play. That will be my game of the week to watch. All the Laker fans out there I know are going to be watching Luka and LeBron. I'll be watching Anthony Edwards and Luka. Sorry, LeBron. Le Goat James, or some people call him, but hey, you know what?
LeBarbie now.
What?
LeBarbie now. He signed a deal with Barbie.
Yeah, well, you know, he did Space Jam 2. He just wants to be a failure. So, you know, we're just going to watch the game, and I think that Edwards is going to go off, and I think that that'll be the game to watch. Hopefully I'm right, but that'll be the game to watch. Side note, I got Steph Curry probably over 30 points too, but I think Ant Edwards will be Luka will have a huge night, don't get me wrong, but I think Ant Edwards will be the one to wine us and dine us that night.
Well, Cam and I have like opposite picks here. I'm getting ready, and I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I'm getting ready to get into the garage and dust off that broom for the same series. But the Lakers might just sweep the Timberwolves. I just don't think they have any answer for Luka, and with that being said, they don't have an answer for LeBron and Austin Reeves that comes with it. Rui Hachimura can turn it up in the playoffs, as we've seen. It is so long that he's healthy. Dalton Connect, we'll see what kind of killer instinct he brings. That he hasn't shown any wavering with the trade kind of looming over his head for a short period of time. He just comes in, he does his job, he plays defense, and he shoots the ball with a high percentage. I think that the Timberwolves stop here, and you'll have to tune into our betting channel on DraftKings to find out whether I pick the sweep or not. I'm waiting for DraftKings to release that line. If not, I'm going to have to join Fanatics. Anyway, we're going to hope that when I bring out the broomstick, it's not going to be like Charles Barkley. When Charles Barkley brings out that broomstick, it ends up being like a 7-game series somehow. Anyway, Nick, what do you got to rant about this week?
Sorry, was on mute. All right. So, not really much of a rant, more of a sermon, if you will. If you would please open your Bibles to the book of NFL Draft, section first round. Shedeur Sanders should not be a first round pick. I will say it. No one else seems to want to say it on ESPN, on NFL Network, on CBS Sports. There's this perception that we think he's top 3 or top 9 out of necessity, right? Because Carr is injured. The fact of the matter is, if Shedeur's last name was Johnson, he would not be discussed. All right? This dude does not throw the ball fast enough. He does not have the arm talent. And I think, to me, like Dion, his father, prime time, he was an asshole. But he also ran a 4.27 40. And he was one of the greatest corners of all time. 3 championships, went head to head with Jerry Rice. Like, he could talk. He's in the Hall of Fame. Shedeur's done nothing but live off his daddy. All right. And all of a sudden, oh, Colorado's this great program. You sure? Because I believe his record at Colorado was, let's see, what did it go? We got 13-13. He's a 500 quarterback at best. He's been comped to Tyrod Taylor, who is a career backup, albeit not because of his fault. He got injured and stuff. Where do we see him as a top 10 prospect, realistically, when he's not even the second best quarterback in the class? Jackson Dart's better than him, and quite honestly, so is Will Howard, so is Jalen Milroe, so is Kyle McCord. Shedeur Sanders is literally like a fourth-round quarterback that will probably go ninth to New Orleans, potentially third to the Giants. But that's my rant. I'm sorry. Shedeur is not it. If someone can just come out and say that he sucks and get it over with, that'd be great. He is not going to pan out as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I can't wait to come back full circle and be right about this. And if somehow I'm wrong, I'll own up to it, but I strongly doubt it.
Shots fired. I was expecting a sermon, like a tip of the cap to, some legendary athlete that Nick has just heard news about this week, but it ended up being an epic rant.
I got a rant if you need one more.
You want to rant about something?
Yeah, I'm going to rant real quick because this was bothering me the other day. Can we take a moment and speak about the Tennessee quarterback
Oh, the
who's
transfer?
transferring?
Yeah.
What?
The transfer?
Old.
Yeah. So I was feeling a few ways about this because, we've been hyping him up to arguably be the second best quarterback next year taken in the draft behind Arch Manning, with the chance to actually pass Arch Manning, depending on how he plays. That was all contingent he stayed at Tennessee. I don't know what advice people are giving these kids. I don't know why you feel the need that you want to make more than the $3 or $4 million you're currently already making. Because to me, if you've got a cushy deal at a college with NIL at an SEC school with 80+ thousand seat facilities, why do you feel the need to ask for more money? What are you paying for? How greedy can you be? And I'm upset about this because now he was paid the money by UCLA, and we have, no matter what this kid does going forward, we are going to dig into his life and his career to see if he was worth the money he received. And the problem is that the school that paid him does not have the athletes to support the budget. So he will look awful and probably wind up transferring again. My rant, people out there listening, passing us on YouTube, just seeing the name, Spotify. If there's a college athlete out there paying attention, it can't be all about the money. You have to want to play and sometimes take less to be a winner somewhere good than take the max amount somewhere bad at a school now where people will not hear about you. In sports, when you pass the Mississippi, it is very hard to hear about players if you are not good, because a good chunk of the country, because of time zones, will watch every game on the East Coast, but only the West Coast will watch the West Coast games because it is too late and we are going to bed. So I thought it was a stupid decision from to leave Tennessee. I don't like it. I don't like that he left for money, and that's the only reason he left. I have issues with that, and I commend the school for not caving and paying him because he didn't do anything to earn it. But I don't like that trend, and I do see that being a trend down the road. It's already one in basketball to an extent, not very public to where superstars are leaving. But It's there in college sports, and this, I think, is the next evaluation of NIL that needs to be fixed. And that is the end of my rant.
I'm going to tack on to that, Cam, because we're seeing the transfer portal be more and more of an issue here, and specifically with as it pertains to NIL. When is the pride of picking your first school going to last or matter if you're just going to, sign or transfer somewhere for a couple extra $1 million? Number one, if you're going to be transferring for those couple extra $1 million now, what is and you're going to, number two, transfer to a dog shit school for that particular sport, because UCLA basketball is one thing, but we're talking about playing quarterback there in NCAA football.
Exactly.
My point being, is there something that we should be, now, like Cam said, we're going to be looking at every move you do now, and that is going to hurt your draft stock, especially because you're going to a team with no notable athletes. Nobody's transferring there but you. So, uh, what are you doing? You could have ended up going in the first round, maybe second round. It really depended on Arch Manning, but what I don't see the value here. I think he was he was the guaranteed starter in Tennessee this year. I'm not sure what the purpose of this other than NIL is. Anyway.
No, I agree with you, and it boggles my mind because, like you said, we are now going to pick his career apart, and we're going to look to that Tennessee game that they lost to Notre Dame in, and that is how we are going to. Well, first of all, that's going to be the first thing we think of is, not Notre Dame, Ohio State. We are going to look to that game, and we are going to say, hey, you couldn't cut it against Ohio State, and now you went to another school, and you're going to be playing Ohio State in that school, against that school. You went 14 of 31 for 104 yards. If you went back to Tennessee, we can kind of push that game away if you have a good season. But the fact that you left and this is your lasting image, and now you're going to a school where you don't have the same talent around you, he shot himself in the foot. And again, like we said, it can't be all about money. The transfer portal in itself is not the worst thing in the world. It has its moments. Yes, there are some kids who transfer way too much. I think it needs to be cleaned up. All in all, I do like it. But NIL and the transfer portal is just an issue. And it's one that we need to get under control quick, because unfortunately, Nico Lamaliva, however you say his last name, is not the first one who's going to lead. He's not the last one who's going to do this. And he probably isn't even the first, but he's the most famous that we know of right now. And that is going to be a problem down the road. That's like Arch deciding, you know what, I'm going to take $10 million and go to SMU. What? Why? You have a good team. You're making millions. Why do you need to leave? It just doesn't make sense. And that is, I'm with you on that. And we'll revisit the portal during the coming weeks, obviously. It's about to close, I think, in another week or two. So we'll see who won football, basketball, all that stuff in the portal. And then it's just depressing. It's kind of killing college sports a little bit.
I mean, he's going to a team that averaged 18.4 points per game in college football.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get saying, like, if he was going to a team that's really good, okay, he's going to a front runner. He's not.
No.
He's not. He's not going to a team that's really good. He's going to a team that will be building. So the only reason we could say you went there is because you want the money. You don't care.
UCLA failed to score more than 17 points in a single game before scoring 35 against Rutgers on October 19th. That was the only time all season that they eclipsed 27.
Yeah.
For
I'm
college
looking at their
football, it's
roster right now.
crazy.
I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now. I don't know how many games they're going to win next year. I don't have the. I think Utah would be better than they are. They'll beat maybe UNLV in New Mexico, but then they're going on a huge losing streak. Maybe Northwestern, they might beat them. They're not beating Penn State. They're not beating
Hell
Michigan State.
no.
They're probably not beating Maryland. I don't think they're beating Indiana. Nebraska has a great tradition. They're not beating Ohio State. They're not beating Washington, and USC could be a toss-up. They could be 3-9. Was that really worth leaving a 9-3 team in a harder conference? So I don't
I
know if
hope he
Nick can.
proves us wrong. I hope he proves us wrong. But
I do too. I really
yeah.
do. But I'm looking at your schedule. I'm looking at your roster. I'm looking at your history. I don't know why you decided to transfer to that school. Again, nothing wrong with doing it. If you're the missing piece, you're not the missing piece. You're not transferring to a team that lost its quarterback because he went to the NFL draft, leaving all these great receivers behind. You are the team. You are the person that left the receivers, the running backs, the cornerbacks, the tight ends, the safeties, the O line. You left that behind to go to UCLA.
Yeah, it's not like you're going from Tennessee to Ohio like Justin Fields did from Georgia to Ohio. It's not like
Yeah.
even though Georgia, he just knew he wasn't going to be the guy in Georgia, and he went to Ohio, and he boosted his draft stock tremendously. But
So
yeah, going from you could see transferring from UCLA to Tennessee, vice versa, not so much.
yeah, and
Nick,
I think that's where. Okay. So you know what? Let me say this. I will take this back a little bit. I'm still mad at him though. So he is from Long Beach, California. I will say, okay, maybe that's why he transferred. But still, UCLA.
well,
No.
what I heard / read was that it was over compensation disputes,
Yeah, he wanted more money.
and I don't think he thought Tennessee was doing him right with the NIL percentage that they were giving him.
Well, you know what? And I think that could be true to an extent. This kid I thought had a decent year, very good year. But let's be honest about this. Let's look at it. What did you do in the last game of the year that has everybody looking at you saying, "Look, this is what we expect." You were 14 of 31 for 104 yards, no touchdowns. Why are we paying you more money? You need to earn it. And to come off that game and want more money, I don't see it. So, again, I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think he's making a huge mistake when it comes to leaving and talent. But that's his decision, and if that's what he wants to do, then so be it. But it can't be all about the money.
Nick, did you want to chime in on this? Because I know you probably have something to say if we didn't address all the points here.
Yeah, so Nico, I'm a lever.
Wait.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week. So what I was reading about Nico was that he was actually going for less money to UCLA.
He went to UCLA for less money, but what happened was, and this is kind of interesting too. NIL is a hot button issue.
Mm-hmm.
After the whole Bryce Underwood issue, people can get paid too much money, but you have to be worth it. And now that everybody's being paid, you can't cripple your team. So Nico's thought was, I'm going to bet on myself. So he left. The problem is when he left, no one reached out because nobody wanted to pay him what he wanted. and it's not a good look. UCLA came out and offered him money. Was it more? No. Was it less? Yeah, that's what they're paying him because they can get him at a discount. But you still left for money reasons, not to take less to help your team, but to try and get more. So he took less at UCLA, not because he wanted to, but because that's all he was offered. It's either take less or miss the transfer portal date and have to sit out a year.
Which is funny
So
because his jersey sales are going to be tremendously hurt going to UCLA.
yeah, he needs to have a superstar year to get back where he was. And then he'd probably transfer again to a better school and make more money. But you shot yourself in the foot because you're making less money and you're going to be on a worse team. Coaches
I don't get it.
The coaches called his bluff. They called it. You put your name in the transfer portal, any school can reach out to you. Nobody did because nobody wanted to pay you that.
And Tennessee will still end up being a better record team without him than he will be at UCLA. So I really don't know how that benefits him at all, other than a
if you
couple extra
think about
dollars in
it,
his pocket today.
if you think about it real quick, and I'll end it on this for me myself. Nick had a good point. He took less money. You don't think there are SEC teams that would have paid him less than what he was offering to go join their teams, and they wouldn't have been better?
Absolutely. Florida, especially.
That's the crazy part. What?
I was going to say Florida, especially.
Florida, not to mention, I know Georgia. I know their quarterback is coming back good, but you don't think they would take the Tennessee quarterback?
Oh, FSU would take him too.
FSU, Alabama,
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. So there's a lot of teams out there that would have paid less for him, but because he wanted more, they called his bluff and said, "You know what? We're happy with what we have."
Might as well have went to UConn.
You know what though? We're not paying him any of that, and actually, he's still got more at UCLA. And
Yeah,
UConn
plus we
might have
would
a
have
better
known he's
record
there
than
for money.
UCLA this year.
They probably will.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Anyway, I guess this is where we will wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. There will be a link to the Spotify in the YouTube comments. There will also be a link to the DraftKings link for Baywood's bets and Nick's picks up there. Cam's not a impulsive or compulsive gambler, so he just likes to point out good matchups for the week.
He does, and he looks over Nick's shoulder while he's betting. I do.
So
And
he sees what's going on.
I give valuable advice. I will say that.
So just a heads up, you will be seeing this episode, or I don't know why I'm giving a heads up at the end of the episode, but this is releasing slightly early. It's going to be Friday rather than Sunday, and we wanted to wish all who celebrate Easter a happy Easter, and all who were excited to listen to this podcast early that don't celebrate Easter, just a happy Friday. And all love from us.